All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Gervonta Tank Davis and Floyd Mayweather and what Calvin Ford, who was the trainer of Floyd Mayweather Jr., came out and said to clear up the madness about their relationship and what Gervonta Davis will be doing next. Let's do that in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, let's talk about Gervonta Tank Davis in the lightweight division. There's been a lot of brouhaha about what is going on with Gervonta Tank Davis and Floyd Mayweather Jr. And Calvin Ford, the trainer of Gervonta Davis, came out on the Rise podcast. Shout out to those guys. Great show. Do great work out of Upton Gym and out of the great city of Baltimore. But before we get into that, what he said, let me welcome you back to the channel if you're a longtime subscriber. If you're not a longtime subscriber, hey, accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also make sure you hit all notifications so that you get all of the notifications. And lastly, if you wager on sports, make sure you support us at BUSR at busr.ag/Fanon, where you use a promotional code Fanon so that you can get extra value for your wagering dollar. So let's push on with this. A little bit of background first, then I'll tell you what Calvin Ford said. Gervonta Davis took to Twitter last week and had some pretty explosive tweets that he let out about his issue with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and saying things like, in response to other comments that, they don't love me, they're using me, but that's all right, I'm using them too. Said that, the reason that they want me to fight Rolly Romero so bad, he said that guy, is because my contract is up. So led to a lot of speculation about his contract being up and all of that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. also came out, I do believe it was this Saturday, on Fight Hype, gave an interview and said, hey man, not everything lasts, or all things come to an end, right? Which led to a lot of speculation about these guys leaving. All right, so the question was whether or not Gervonta Davis is breaking from Floyd Mayweather Jr. and all of what they've built is between the two of them, is gonna fall apart. Bob Arum also came out and said that, if these guys were not going to resign, if Tank wasn't going to resign to Bob Arum, that, he would definitely be interested in signing him, right? So all of that goes around. On the Rise podcast, and again, shout out to the Rise podcast. You guys definitely go check those guys out. It's THERIZE podcast on YouTube. Calvin Ford called in, and Calvin Ford is the trainer of Gervonta Davis, called in and said, look, let me squash a lot of nonsense that's going on. The first thing that he said was, look, Adrian Bronner, Gervonta, Floyd, and all these guys know how to sell a fight. Now, I'm paraphrasing, right? They know how to sell a fight and understand, by implication, understand that when they say certain things in the media and they put these words out, that it does a lot to sell the fight, right? So, and this is what other people have been saying in the comments of my videos, and they say it pretty much every time there's before an Adrian Bronner fight. Adrian Bronner fight will get arrested, or this will happen, or that'll happen. And they'll say, look, man, whenever this stuff happens, notice how much attention it brings to the fight, right? So in this instance, Floyd Mayweather Jr. says, nothing lasts forever, but buy the tickets to the fight. Gervonta Davis, in his particular instance, said, man, who do these guys think I'm, Michael Jackson or something? Putting my tickets on sale a month before the fight, right? So in both of Gervonta Davis's messages and Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s response, they both brought up the issue of the tickets related to the fight that Gervonta Davis is going to be having at the Barclays Center. I don't recall the date for the fight, but it's coming up in not too long with Rolly Romero. So Calvin Ford is like, look, these guys know how to sell a fight. So that was one aspect of it. The other thing he said was, look, man, Floyd, and now this is his opinion, right? And he's the trainer of Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis is going to make up Gervonta Davis's mind, right? Floyd will make up Floyd's mind. Al Heyman will make up Al Heyman's mind, right? But Calvin Ford most definitely is somebody that has excellent visibility in this, being that close to Gervonta Davis. But he says, look, man, Gervonta Davis and Floyd, they've done great business together in the past, and they're going to continue to do great business together into the future. You know, this is a similar situation to, and he does compare it to when Floyd Mayweather Jr. was with Bob Arum. And at a certain point in time, Floyd Mayweather, you know, had to start speaking up for himself and really start, you know, getting on Bob Arum about getting him the big fights that he wanted, right? So there's definitely he acknowledges that there's some real tension between the two of them, but he's like, that doesn't mean that Gervonta Davis is going to stop doing business with Floyd and stop doing business with Al Heyman. He's like, look, these two are the best guys, two of the best guys in the business that Gervonta Davis could be dealing with. So, you know, he expects those guys to continue to still do business with one another, right? And that explanation, you know, it makes a lot of sense. It's a very mature, well-rounded, well-rounded may not be the right way, but yeah, it's a well-rounded opinion, because he knows Al Heyman, he knows Floyd Mayweather Jr., and he knows Gervonta Davis. He said, look, man, Floyd's a good guy, but those guys are they're very, very much like each other, talking about Floyd and Gervonta Davis. Now, he didn't get into great depth what that is, but usually if you're saying that Gervonta's a lot like Floyd, my take on Floyd from what I've seen of Floyd is that Floyd is, and what I've heard of Floyd from people that are close friends with Floyd, is that Floyd is a very generous dude. He's a very nice guy, very, very focused on business, but you know, he's got a really big ego. So if he's got a really big ego and you brush up against that man's ego, then, you know, Floyd's going to have problems with you, because Floyd Mayweather Jr. is Floyd Mayweather Jr. And he didn't get that way without being somebody that has a tremendous opinion of himself, right? But he is underneath that, though, and when he's dealing with people that he loves and he cares with, is a very generous guy, a good guy. You know, I've heard stories of, you know, of Floyd Mayweather Jr. doing things like, you know, throwing parties in which he does not indulge at all. And I was hearing this way back in the early 2000s, but how he would make sure that everybody in the party had everything that they wanted to enjoy themselves, and really did enjoy other people enjoying themselves around him, and said, hey, you know, you got a quick trigger, can go off sometimes, but is a good dude, right? And this is from people that like I said, that know Floyd Mayweather Jr. very, very well. And so if that is the same thing with Gervonta Davis, that, you know, then, hey, man, then these guys' egos are going to bump up against each other, because Gervonta Davis is a dude that is, hey, man, you know, he was a kid that was coming out of Baltimore and was, you know, trying to struggling and trying to get put on and all that. But at this point in time, man, at 26, 27 years old, he's becoming a fully matured man, a fully matured fighter, and he's going to have his own viewpoint about how he wants his career to go, and is going to try to push people to get him to get the things that he wants, right? But that doesn't mean, and this is again Calvin, Calvin Ford's viewpoint, but that doesn't mean that he's going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and stop dealing with the guys, two of the best guys in boxing that have got him there. So according to Calvin Ford, you know, a lot of this is just a lot of hype behind it, originally designed to get, not designed for the purpose of, but, you know, these guys knowing that if they argue in public that it is going to generate a lot of interest for the fight. And it has. There's been a lot of conversations, a lot of stuff going on with Gervonta Davis over the last couple of days, and in many ways has overshadowed pretty much everything else that has happened in boxing. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. and these guys are very good at getting attention. But anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.